Long ago, when the world was young and filled with wonder, there lived a man whose life would change everything. His name was Enoch. This is his story. It is a story about change. It is a story about hope. It is a story that shows us how any life can be made new. Picture the world as it was then. The grass was greener, the sky seemed bigger, the stars shone brighter at night. But something was wrong, very wrong. The people had forgotten how to live the right way. They had forgotten about God. They lived only for themselves. They hurt each other. They lied and cheated and stole. The world that God had made so beautiful was becoming dark and ugly. In those days, people lived much longer than we do now. Some lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. Imagine being alive for 900 years. Think of all the things you would see, all the people you would meet, all the changes that would happen around you. But even with all those years, most people never learned how to live right. They wasted their long lives on things that did not matter. The earth was getting more crowded every day. There were more people, but they were not happier. They built cities, but the cities were full of sadness. They made families, but the families fought with each other. They worked hard, but their work brought them no joy. Something was missing. Something very important was missing from their lives. God looked down at the world he had made. He saw the people he loved living in such terrible ways. His heart was sad. He wanted to help them. He wanted to show them a better way to live. But most of the time, people did not want to listen to God. They thought they knew better. They thought they could make their own rules. They thought they could live without God and be happy. But they were wrong. Into this broken world, a baby was born. His father's name was Jared. Jared was a good man, but he lived in a world that was not good. When his son was born, he named him Enoch. The name Enoch means dedicated or trained. It was a special name. But at first, little Enoch seemed like any other baby. He cried when he was hungry. He slept when he was tired. He learned to walk and talk like all children do. As Enoch grew up, he saw the world around him. He saw how people treated each other. He saw the anger and the fighting. He saw the sadness in people's eyes. Even as a young boy, Enoch knew that something was not right. He would ask his father questions. "Why do people hurt each other, Papa?" he would say. "Why is everyone so sad?" His father would try to explain, but it was hard to understand. Enoch's childhood was not easy. Even though his family tried to live right, the world around them was full of trouble. Every day brought new problems. People stole from each other. They lied to each other. They were mean and cruel. Young Enoch watched all this and wondered why the world had to be this way. He wondered if there was something better, something more than just trying to survive in a world gone wrong. When Enoch became a young man, he did what young men did in those days. He learned to work with his hands. He learned to plant crops and take care of animals. He learned to build things and fix things. He was strong and smart and good at many things. But inside his heart, there was still that question. There was still that feeling that something was missing. Enoch got married to a woman who loved him. Together, They started a family. They had children and tried to raise them to be good people. Enoch worked hard to take care of his family. He built them a house. He grew food for them to eat. He protected them from danger. He was a good husband and father. But still, deep in his heart, he felt like there had to be more to life than just working and eating and sleeping and trying to stay safe. Every day was much the same for Enoch. He would wake up early in the morning. He would eat his breakfast. He would go out to work in the fields or take care of his animals. He would come home tired at the end of the day. He would eat dinner with his family. He would tell stories to his children. Then he would go to bed and do it all again the next day. It was a good life in many ways, but it felt empty somehow, like there was a hole in his heart that nothing could fill. Enoch looked around at the other people in his village. They seemed to be happy with their simple lives. They worked and ate and slept and did not seem to wonder about bigger questions. But Enoch could not stop wondering. He would lie awake at night and look up at the stars. He would wonder who made those stars. He would wonder if there was someone up there looking back down at him. He would wonder what his life was really for. Sometimes Enoch would walk alone in the hills near his home. He liked the quiet there. Away from all the noise and trouble of the village, he could think more clearly. He would sit by a stream or under a big tree and just think about life. He thought about his children and what kind of world they would grow up in. He thought about his own father and grandfather and the stories they told about the old days. He thought about God, though he was not sure what God was really like. The older Enoch got, the more he realized that most people around him had given up hope. They had decided that the world was just a hard place, and that was all there was to it. They stopped asking questions about why things were the way they were. They stopped looking for something better. They just accepted that life was difficult and tried to make the best of it. But Enoch could not accept that. Something inside him kept saying there had to be more. One morning, when Enoch was 65 years old, something happened that changed everything. He was walking in his favorite place in the hills, thinking about his life as usual. His son Methuselah had just been born, and becoming a father had made Enoch think even more deeply about life and its meaning. He was wondering what kind of world his new baby would grow up in. He was wondering if there was anything he could do to make things better. As Enoch walked along the path he had walked so many times before, he suddenly felt like he was not alone. At first, he thought maybe another person was coming down the path behind him. He turned around to look, but no one was there. Still, the feeling that someone was with him grew stronger and stronger. It was not a scary feeling. It was more like when you know someone who loves you is nearby, even before you see them. Then Enoch heard something. It was not exactly a voice, like when another person talks to you. It was more like thoughts that were not his own thoughts appearing in his mind. But somehow, he knew that someone was speaking to him. Someone very important. Someone who had been waiting a long time for Enoch to be ready to listen. "Enoch," the voice said, gentle as a whisper, but strong as thunder. "I have been watching you. I have seen your heart. I know the questions you ask. I know the emptiness you feel. I am here to show you the way to fill that emptiness. I am here to show you how to really live. Enoch stopped walking. His heart began to beat very fast. He looked around, but he still could not see anyone. Yet he knew, deeper than knowing, that God was speaking to him. The God who made the stars he looked at every night. The God who made the trees and the streams and the birds and everything else. That God was talking to him, simple Enoch, a man who worked with his hands and worried about his family and wondered about the meaning of life. Do not be afraid, God said. I am not here to frighten you. I am here because I love you. I am here because I have work for you to do. I am here because I want to show you how to walk with me. Will you come, Enoch? Will you learn a new way to live? Enoch's mouth was dry. He tried to speak, but at first no words would come. Finally, he whispered, "Yes, Lord, I will come. I will learn. Please show me the way." And in that moment, everything changed. The world looked the same, but Enoch was different. He had said yes to God, and that yes would change not only his life, but the lives of countless people for thousands and thousands of years to come. From that day forward, Enoch began to learn what it meant to walk with God. It was not like anything he had ever experienced before. God did not appear to him in a way that other people could see, but Enoch could sense God's presence with him all the time. When he woke up in the morning, God was there. When he worked in his fields, God was there. When he ate dinner with his family, God was there. When he lay down to sleep at night, God was there. He was never alone again. At first, this new way of living felt strange to Enoch. He had to learn how to listen for God's voice in his heart. He had to learn how to talk to God, not just when he needed something, but all through the day. He had to learn how to let God guide his thoughts and his actions. It was like learning to walk all over again, but this time he was learning to walk in step with the Creator of the universe. God began to teach Enoch about himself. He showed Enoch that he was not far away in some distant place, but close, closer than breathing. He showed Enoch that he cared about everything in Enoch's life, from the biggest things to the smallest things. When Enoch's children were sick, God cared. When Enoch's crops needed rain, God cared. When Enoch felt lonely or worried or confused, God cared. This was amazing to Enoch. The God who made the whole universe cared about his daily life. As the days and weeks and months went by, Enoch began to change. The emptiness in his heart was filling up with something wonderful. The questions that had troubled him for so long were beginning to have answers. The sadness he had felt about the world was being replaced by hope, not because the world was getting better, but because he now knew someone who was stronger than all the bad things in the world. He knew someone who had a plan to make everything right again someday. People began to notice that Enoch was different. His wife saw it first. Where he used to come home from work tired and worried, now he came home with peace in his eyes. Where he used to lie awake at night thinking about problems, now he slept soundly. Where he used to get angry when things went wrong, now he stayed calm and trusted that God would work things out. She asked him what had happened to him, and Enoch told her about meeting God. At first, his wife was not sure what to think. She had never heard of anyone actually talking with God like Enoch described. But she could not argue with the changes she saw in her husband. He was kinder. He was more patient. He was happier. He seemed to have a strength that came from somewhere outside himself. Slowly, she began to believe that something wonderful really had happened to Enoch. She began to want to know this God that had changed her husband so much. Enoch's children noticed the change in their father too. He still worked hard to take care of them, but now his work seemed to have a different purpose. He was not just working to survive anymore. He was working because God had given him a family to love and care for. When he played with his children, he was completely present with them. When he taught them things, he also taught them about God. When they asked him questions, he helped them understand that God had answers for all of life's big questions. The neighbors and friends in Enoch's village began to see the change too. Enoch had always been a good man, but now there was something special about him. When people had arguments, they started coming to Enoch to help them solve their problems. When people were sad, they came to Enoch for comfort. When people were confused about life, they came to Enoch for wisdom. And Enoch always pointed them back to God. He told them that anything good in him came from God. As Enoch learned to walk with God, God began to show him things that other people could not see. He showed Enoch visions of angels and heavenly places. He showed Enoch the future and what would happen to the world. He showed Enoch the truth about good and evil, about life and death, about justice and mercy. Enoch saw that God had a plan for everything, even when things looked hopeless from a human point of view. One of the most important things God showed Enoch was that he was not just the God of good times. He was also the God of justice. God loved all people, but he could not ignore the terrible things they were doing to each other. God showed Enoch that a time of judgment was coming. The wickedness in the world was getting worse and worse, and God would not let it continue forever. This was both frightening and comforting to Enoch. Frightening because he cared about all people, even the bad ones. Comforting because it meant that someday all the wrongs would be made right. God gave Enoch a special job. He told him to warn the people about the judgment that was coming. He told him to preach to them about righteousness and tell them that they needed to change their ways. This was not an easy job. Most people did not want to hear that they were living wrong. They did not want to hear about judgment. They wanted to keep living the way they had always lived. But Enoch obeyed God and began to speak his message to anyone who would listen. Some people laughed at Enoch when he told them about walking with God. They thought he was crazy or making things up. Some people got angry at him for saying that their way of living was wrong. They told him to mind his own business and leave them alone. But some people listened. Some people saw the peace and joy in Enoch's life and wanted what he had. Some people were tired of the emptiness and sadness in their own lives and were ready to try a different way. For 300 years, Enoch walked with God. 300 years of learning and growing and becoming more like the God he served. 300 years of raising his family in the ways of God. 300 years of preaching God's message to a world that mostly did not want to hear it. But Enoch never gave up. Every day, he chose again to walk with God. Every day, he chose to trust God's plan, even when he could not understand everything about it. During those 300 years, Enoch's life was full in a way it had never been before he met God. He still had the same daily tasks. He still had to work and eat and sleep. He still had problems and worries like everyone else. But now, all of these ordinary things were part of his relationship with God. He worked as a way of serving God. He cared for his family as a way of showing God's love. He faced problems as opportunities to trust God more deeply. Enoch became known far and wide as a man of God. People traveled from distant places to hear him speak about the God who was close enough to walk with his people. Some came seeking wisdom for their problems. Some came looking for hope in their sadness. Some came just because they had heard amazing stories about this man who claimed to talk with the creator of the universe. Enoch welcomed them all and shared with them everything God had taught him. The most wonderful thing about Enoch's transformation was that it kept growing stronger as time went on. The longer he walked with God, the more he became like God in his character. He became more loving, more patient, more kind, more wise, more just. People who met him felt like they were getting a glimpse of what God himself might be like. This was exactly what God wanted. He wanted Enoch to be a living example of what human life could be when it was connected to its creator. Enoch's son Methuselah grew up watching his father walk with God. This had a powerful effect on the boy. He saw how different his father was from other men. He saw the peace and strength that came from Enoch's relationship with God. He saw how God answered Enoch's prayers and guided his decisions. Because of what he saw in his father's life, Methuselah also learned to walk with God. The transformation in Enoch's life was being passed on to the next generation. As Methuselah grew older and had children of his own, he taught them what his father had taught him about God. In this way, the knowledge of God and the example of walking with God was preserved and passed down through the generations. Even when the world around them grew more and more wicked, there was always this family line that remembered God and tried to live according to his ways. This was part of God's plan to keep hope alive in the world. The message that Enoch preached was simple but powerful. He told people that God loved them and wanted to have a relationship with them, just like he had with Enoch. He told them that the emptiness they felt in their lives could be filled by walking with God. He told them that God had a plan and a purpose for each of their lives. But he also warned them that God's patience with wickedness would not last forever. A time of judgment was coming, and they needed to be ready. Many people rejected Enoch's message, but it was not wasted. Even those who did not believe him heard the words. Some of them remembered the words later when they were in trouble and needed God's help. Some of them passed the words on to their children, even though they did not believe the words themselves. And some of them, in their last moments of life, remembered what Enoch had said and called out to God for mercy. God used Enoch's faithful preaching in ways that Enoch himself never knew about. As the years passed, something wonderful began to happen to Enoch. The more time he spent with God, the more he became like God. It was as if God's own nature was rubbing off on him. People noticed that there was something almost otherworldly about Enoch. He seemed to glow with an inner light. He seemed to have wisdom beyond human wisdom. He seemed to have peace beyond human peace. He seemed to have love beyond human love. He was still fully human, but he was becoming something more as well. This transformation was not just spiritual, it was physical too. While other people aged and grew weak as the years went by, Enoch seemed to grow stronger and more vibrant. His eyes remained bright and clear. His step remained strong and sure. His voice remained powerful when he preached God's message. It was as if walking with God was keeping him young and healthy in ways that amazed everyone who knew him. Enoch began to have more and more visions and revelations from God. He saw things that no other human had ever seen. He was taken in spirit to heavenly places where he saw angels worshiping God. He saw the throne of God surrounded by incredible beauty and glory. He saw the books where God recorded the deeds of all people. He saw the future judgment of the wicked and the future blessing of the righteous. These visions filled him with both awe and urgency to share God's message with as many people as possible. In his visions, Enoch saw that God's plan for dealing with wickedness involved more than just judgment. He saw that God would send a savior, someone who would make it possible for all people to be forgiven and to have a relationship with God. This savior would come from Enoch's own family line, many generations in the future. This gave Enoch great hope and joy. Even though the world was getting darker, God had a plan to bring light back into it. Enoch also saw in his visions that the story of his own life would be remembered for thousands and thousands of years. He saw that his example of walking with God would inspire people in every generation to seek their own relationship with God. He saw that his transformation from ordinary man to friend of God would give hope to countless people who felt stuck in ordinary, empty lives. This was both humbling and encouraging to Enoch. He was just one man, but God was using his life to touch many lives. The other thing Enoch saw in his visions was the truth about life and death. He saw that physical death was not the end of existence. He saw that people who walked with God, like he did, would live forever with God, even after their bodies died. He saw that people who rejected God would be separated from God forever after they died. This knowledge made Enoch even more passionate about sharing God's message. He knew that what people decided about God in this life would affect them for all eternity. As Enoch's reputation spread, more and more people came to hear him speak about God. Some came from curiosity, some from desperation, some from genuine desire to know the truth. Enoch spoke to them all with the same love and compassion. He never looked down on people for the mistakes they had made or the way they were living. He simply offered them the same opportunity he had been given, the chance to walk with God and be transformed. Enoch's preaching was different from what people expected. He did not just tell them what they were doing wrong. He showed them what life could be like when it was lived in partnership with God. He told them stories about his own journey from emptiness to fullness, from confusion to clarity, from fear to peace. He let them see in his own life what God could do in any life that was surrendered to him. This made his message much more powerful than mere words alone could ever be. The transformation in Enoch's life also affected how he treated other people. Before he walked with God, he had been a good man, but he had still struggled with the same selfishness and irritability that all people struggle with. After he began walking with God, these negative traits began to disappear. He became genuinely more interested in other people's welfare than in his own comfort. He became more patient with people who were slow to understand. He became more forgiving of people who hurt or disappointed him. This change in how Enoch treated people made his message even more believable. People could see that he was not just talking about God's love, he was actually showing God's love in how he lived. When someone was hungry, Enoch fed them. When someone was sad, Enoch comforted them. When someone was confused, Enoch patiently explained things to them. When someone was rejected by others, Enoch welcomed them. In all of these ways, people got to experience what God was like through their interactions with Enoch. Enoch's family life became a powerful testimony to the goodness of walking with God. His marriage grew stronger and more loving as he learned to treat his wife the way God wanted husbands to treat wives. His children respected and loved him because they could see that his love for them came from God's love working through him. His home became a place of peace and joy in a world full of conflict and sadness. People who visited Enoch's home often said they felt like they had gotten a taste of what heaven might be like. Even Enoch's work became different after he began walking with God. He had always been a good worker, but now his work had a deeper purpose. He worked not just to provide for his family's needs, but as a way of serving God and blessing other people. He was honest in all his business dealings. He was fair to everyone who worked with him. He was generous with those who had less than he did. In all of these ways, his work became another way of showing people what God was like. As the years passed, Enoch noticed that his relationship with God kept growing deeper and richer. What had started as occasional conversations became constant communication. What had started as learning about God became intimate friendship with God. What had started as trying to obey God's commands became naturally wanting to do what pleased God. Enoch discovered that the more he gave his life to God, the more truly alive he became. This deepening relationship with God also gave Enoch a different perspective on the troubles and struggles of life. He still faced difficulties like everyone else, but now he faced them with God's help and from God's point of view. He began to see that God could use even bad things to accomplish good purposes. He began to understand that God's plan was much bigger than any individual problem or challenge. This gave him a peace and confidence that amazed everyone who knew him. Enoch also discovered that walking with God gave him supernatural strength for the work God had given him to do. When he preached God's message, the words came from God, not just from his own mind. When he needed wisdom to help people with their problems, God gave him insights he never could have come up with on his own. When he faced opposition from people who did not like his message, God gave him courage and boldness to keep speaking the truth. In every way, God equipped Enoch for the life he was called to live. The most amazing thing about Enoch's transformation was that it never stopped growing. Every day brought new discoveries about God. Every day brought new ways to become more like God. Every day brought new opportunities to show God's love to other people. Enoch never reached a point where he felt like he had learned everything there was to know about walking with God. There was always more depth, always more beauty, always more wonder in his relationship with the Creator of the universe. This continuous growth kept Enoch's life fresh and exciting, even after hundreds of years of walking with God. He never became bored or complacent. He never felt like he was just going through the motions. Every day was a new adventure in discovering more about God and more about what it meant to be the person God created him to be. This kind of life was so different from the empty, repetitive existence that most people experienced that it drew attention wherever Enoch went. Word about Enoch and his amazing life spread to distant lands. People told stories about the man who claimed to walk and talk with God every day. Some of the stories grew and changed as they were told and retold, but the basic truth remained the same. There was a man who had found something that made him different from everyone else. There was a man who had peace and joy and purpose in a world where most people had none of these things. There was a man who claimed that anyone could have what he had if they were willing to walk with God. Some people traveled for months just to meet Enoch and see for themselves if the stories were true. Most of them went away, convinced that they had met someone truly extraordinary. They had seen with their own eyes what a human life could become when it was completely given over to God. Some of them went back to their own lands and began to seek God for themselves. In this way, Enoch's influence spread far beyond the people who lived near him. But not everyone who heard about Enoch was impressed. Some people were threatened by his message. They liked the world the way it was, with themselves in control of their own lives. They did not want to hear that there was a God who had rightful authority over all people. They did not want to hear that their way of living was wrong. They did not want to hear about coming judgment. These people sometimes tried to harm Enoch or to stop him from preaching his message. However, Enoch was under God's special protection. Every time someone tried to hurt him, God intervened to keep him safe. Sometimes this happened in miraculous ways that amazed everyone who witnessed it. Sometimes people who came to attack Enoch found themselves unable to carry out their plans. Sometimes they were struck with fear or confusion that made them flee instead of fighting. These supernatural protections served as signs to everyone that God was truly with Enoch. As Enoch's life continued, he began to realize that God had something very special planned for him. In his visions, he saw glimpses of a destiny unlike anything that had ever happened to a human being before. He saw that his walk with God would lead him to a place where no human had ever gone while still alive. He saw that his transformation would become complete in a way that would astonish the world and be remembered forever. This knowledge filled Enoch with both excitement and solemnity. He was honored beyond words that God would choose him for such a special destiny, but he also felt the weight of responsibility that came with being chosen for something so important. He knew that his life was not just about his own happiness or success. It was about showing the world what God could do in a human life that was fully surrendered to him. During his last years on earth, Enoch's preaching became even more urgent and powerful. He could sense that the time of God's judgment was getting closer. He could see that the wickedness in the world was reaching a point where God would have to act. He worked harder than ever to warn people and to call them to repentance. He knew that soon his opportunity to reach people with God's message would come to an end. The people who knew Enoch best began to notice that something was changing in him during these final years. He seemed to be becoming more and more like the angels he described from his visions. There was an otherworldly quality about him that was both beautiful and slightly frightening. It was as if he was gradually shifting from being a man who walked with God to being something more than human altogether. Enoch himself was aware of this change. He could feel himself being drawn more and more into God's presence. The physical world around him was beginning to seem less real and less important than the spiritual realm where he spent so much time in fellowship with God. He sensed that his time of walking with God on earth was drawing to a close, but that an even more wonderful phase of his existence was about to begin. On what turned out to be his last day on earth, Enoch went for a walk as he had done thousands of times before. But this walk was different. As he walked, he felt God's presence more strongly than ever before. The boundary between earth and heaven seemed to be dissolving around him. He felt himself being lifted up, not just spiritually, but physically as well. The ground beneath his feet was becoming less and less solid. The air around him was beginning to glow with heavenly light. And then it happened. Enoch stepped from earth into eternity without ever experiencing death. One moment, he was walking on a path in the hills near his home, and the next moment, he was walking in the very presence of God in heaven. His transformation was complete. The man who had learned to walk with God on earth was now walking with God in God's own home forever. The people who knew Enoch searched everywhere for him when he did not come home that night. They found the path where he had been walking. They found his footprints in the soft earth. But the footprints simply stopped at a certain point, as if he had been lifted straight up into the sky. There was no sign of struggle, no evidence of violence, no body to be found. Enoch had simply vanished from the earth, taken by God to be with him forever. The news of Enoch's mysterious disappearance spread quickly throughout the region. Some people were amazed and wondered what had happened to him. Some people were frightened and thought that God's judgment might be beginning. Some people remembered Enoch's preaching about God's power and realized that something supernatural had occurred. But everyone agreed that they had never heard of anything like this happening before. Enoch's family, though they missed him terribly, were not surprised by what had happened. They had seen him growing closer and closer to God over the years. They had seen him becoming more and more like the angels he described in his visions. They had sensed that something extraordinary was going to happen to him. When they realized that God had taken him to heaven without letting him die, they were filled with both grief at losing him and joy at knowing he was with God forever. The story of Enoch's transformation and his amazing end spread throughout the ancient world. It became a source of hope for people who were trying to live godly lives in an ungodly world. It became proof that God was real and that he rewarded those who sought him faithfully. It became a promise that death was not the end for those who walked with God. Generation after generation told the story of Enoch and found encouragement in it. Methuselah, Enoch's son, lived for 969 years and spent all of those years telling people about his father's life and message. He had been deeply affected by growing up in Enoch's household and seeing firsthand what it looked like to walk with God. Though Methuselah never had exactly the same relationship with God that his father had, he remained faithful to God throughout his long life and passed on Enoch's teachings to his own children and grandchildren. Through Methuselah's family line, the memory of Enoch and his message was preserved even when the rest of the world forgot about God. This family line eventually produced Noah, who built the ark that saved humanity from the Great Flood. It also eventually produced Abraham, the father of the Jewish nation. And many generations later, it produced Jesus Christ, the Savior that Enoch had seen in his visions. In this way, Enoch's faithfulness had results that lasted for thousands of years. The example of Enoch's life continued to inspire people throughout history. Whenever someone felt discouraged about whether it was possible to really know God personally, they could remember Enoch. Whenever someone wondered whether God cared about ordinary people living ordinary lives, they could remember how God chose to walk with Enoch. Whenever someone doubted whether following God was worth the cost, they could remember Enoch's transformation from empty existence to abundant life. But Enoch's story did not end when he was taken to heaven. According to ancient writings, he continued to serve God in heaven, helping to prepare for the time when God would send the promised Savior to earth. Some traditions say that Enoch became one of the highest-ranking angels, given special authority because of his faithfulness during his time on earth. Whether or not these traditions are accurate, they show how much impact Enoch's life had on people's understanding of what was possible for human beings who chose to walk with God. The transformation that Enoch experienced is still possible today. God has not changed. He still wants to walk with people, just like he walked with Enoch. He still wants to transform empty lives into lives full of purpose and meaning. He still wants to take ordinary people and make them extraordinary through his power working in them. The same invitation that God gave to Enoch thousands of years ago, he gives to every person today. Many people in our modern world feel the same emptiness that Enoch felt before he began walking with God. They work hard and achieve success, but still feel like something is missing. They have families and friends and many possessions, but still feel alone inside. They search for meaning and purpose in many different places, but never find anything that truly satisfies the longing of their hearts. Like Enoch before his transformation, They sense that there must be more to life than just surviving from day to day. The good news is that the same God who revealed himself to Enoch is still revealing himself to people today. He still speaks to those who are ready to listen. He still calls people into relationship with him. He still offers to fill the emptiness in human hearts with his love and presence. He still promises to transform anyone who is willing to surrender their life to him and learn to walk in his ways. The process of transformation that Enoch went through is also still available today. It still begins with saying yes to God's invitation to relationship. It still involves learning to listen for God's voice and to trust his guidance. It still requires choosing God's ways over our own ways, even when that choice is difficult. It still results in peace, joy, purpose, and hope that cannot be found anywhere else. And it still leads ultimately to eternal life with God. Like Enoch, people today who choose to walk with God will find their lives changing in wonderful ways. They will discover peace in the midst of life's storms. They will find strength to handle challenges that once seemed impossible. They will develop love and compassion for other people that goes far beyond their natural abilities. They will gain wisdom and insight that helps them make good decisions. They will experience joy that does not depend on their circumstances. Also, like Enoch, people today who walk with God will find themselves with a message to share with the world. They will want to tell others about the transformation they have experienced. They will want to offer hope to people who are struggling with emptiness and despair. They will want to warn people about the consequences of continuing to live without God. They will want to show people, through their own transformed lives, what God can do in any life that is surrendered to Him. The world today needs people like Enoch. It needs people who are willing to be transformed by their relationship with God. It needs people who will stand up for truth and righteousness, even when it is unpopular. It needs people who will show God's love to others through their words and actions. It needs people who will offer hope to those who have given up on finding meaning and purpose in life. It needs people who will point the way to the God who still wants to walk with His people. Enoch's story reminds us that no life is too ordinary to be used by God in extraordinary ways. Enoch was not born into a royal family. He was not wealthy or famous or powerful by human standards. He was just a regular person living a regular life in a troubled world. But when he said yes to God's invitation to relationship, his ordinary life became extraordinary. His influence spread throughout his generation and has continued to inspire people for thousands of years since then. The same potential exists in every human life today. God is not looking for people who are already perfect or who have their lives all figured out. He is looking for people who are willing to admit their need for Him and to let Him transform them from the inside out. He is looking for people who are hungry for more than what this world has to offer. He is looking for people who are ready to discover what life was meant to be when it is lived in partnership with its Creator. Enoch's transformation from before to after his encounter with God shows us what is possible for anyone who chooses to walk with God. Before, he was empty, searching, questioning, living without real purpose or hope. After, He was filled with God's presence, secure in God's love, confident in God's plan, and bursting with hope and purpose. The difference was not in his circumstances, which remained largely the same. The difference was in his relationship with God, which changed everything about how he experienced life. This same before and after transformation is available to everyone. No matter what someone's life has been like up to this point, no matter what mistakes they have made or what emptiness they have experienced, God offers them the chance for a completely new beginning. He offers them the chance to discover what their life can become when it is connected to its source and filled with divine purpose and meaning. The invitation that God gave to Enoch thousands of years ago, He gives to every person reading or hearing this story today. Will you walk with me? He asks. Will you let me transform your life? Will you let me fill the emptiness in your heart with my love? Will you let me give you purpose and meaning and hope? Will you let me show you what life can really be? The choice, just as it was for Enoch, is ours to make. If we say yes to that invitation, we can expect the same kind of transformation that Enoch experienced. It may not happen overnight, just as it did not happen overnight for Enoch, but gradually, day by day, we will find our lives changing as we learn to walk with God. We will find peace replacing anxiety. We will find hope replacing despair. We will find love replacing selfishness. We will find purpose replacing emptiness. We will find joy replacing sadness. And like Enoch, we will find that our transformed lives become a light to others who are still searching for what we have found. Our before and after story will encourage others to seek their own transformation. Our example will show others what is possible when a human life is surrendered to God. Our words will carry power because they will be backed up by the evidence of what God has done in our own lives. The story of Enoch is ultimately a story about hope. It is hope for anyone who feels stuck in an ordinary, empty existence. It is hope for anyone who wonders if there is more to life than what they are currently experiencing. It is hope for anyone who longs for meaning and purpose and joy, but has not been able to find these things on their own. Enoch's story shows us that transformation is possible, that God is real and available, and that any life can be changed from ordinary to extraordinary through the power of walking with God. This hope is not just for some future time or some other place. It is available right now, right here, for anyone who is ready to take the same step that Enoch took thousands of years ago. The step of faith, the step of surrender, the step of saying yes to God's invitation to relationship, the step that leads from before to after, from emptiness to fullness, from despair to hope, from ordinary to extraordinary. Enoch's transformation story continues today in the lives of everyone who chooses to walk with God. Each person who makes that choice becomes part of the ongoing story of what God can do in human lives that are surrendered to Him. Each person who experiences that transformation becomes living proof that God is still in the business of changing lives, still offering hope to the hopeless, still calling people into relationship with Him. So the story of Enoch is not just ancient history, it is a present reality for anyone who wants it to be. The same God who transformed Enoch's life is ready to transform any life that is offered to him. The same before and after change that Enoch experienced is available to everyone who is willing to walk with God. The same hope that Enoch's story has given to people for thousands of years is still available today to anyone who will receive it. This is the true power of Enoch's transformation story. It is not just about what happened to one man long ago. It is about what can happen to any person at any time who chooses to say yes to God's invitation to walk with Him. It is about the hope that no life is beyond transformation, no heart is beyond healing, no person is beyond the reach of God's love and power to change them from the inside out. The question that remains is the same question that faced Enoch all those years ago. Will we continue to live with the emptiness and searching that characterizes life without God? Or will we take the step of faith that leads to transformation? Will we remain in the before, or will we move into the after? Will we choose the ordinary life of just getting by, or will we choose the extraordinary life of walking with God? Enoch made his choice, and it changed not only his own life, but the lives of countless others across thousands of years of human history. Now, it is our turn to choose. The same God who called Enoch is calling us. The same transformation that changed Enoch's life is available to change ours. The same hope that filled Enoch's heart can fill our hearts too. All we have to do is what Enoch did. Say yes to God's invitation and begin the greatest adventure any human being can ever experience. The adventure of walking with God and being transformed by His love. And so the story continues, not as ancient history, but as living reality, not as someone else's experience, but as our own potential transformation, not as a tale from long ago, but as an invitation for today. The God who walked with Enoch still walks with people today. The transformation that changed Enoch from ordinary to extraordinary is still changing lives today. The hope that Enoch found in his relationship with God is still available to anyone who will seek it today. This is the true meaning of Enoch's before and after transformation story. It is not just about what God did once upon a time in the life of one special man. It is about what God wants to do right now in the life of anyone who is ready to receive it. It is about the endless possibility for change, growth, and transformation that exists when a human life connects with its Creator. It is about the hope that no matter where we are in our journey, we can always take the next step toward walking with God and experiencing the fullness of life that He offers to all who seek Him with sincere hearts.